Folks, we got Dasha in the house. Holy smokes, it's been a long time coming. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
What's got you mostly lit up today, Dasha? And then we'll dive right into it.
Okay, should I tell the story?
Tell the story.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, let's preface it with this. This story is quintessential business ownership / risk taking. So you're going to want to listen.
And this is breaking news as well, because this is literally happening an hour ago or 2 hours ago.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah.
Fresh off the press, ladies and gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
What you got?
So I've been working on this idea around AI agents and something that has to do with the healthcare system, we'll put it that way. And I came up with this idea a couple weeks ago and I was like, that sounds like it might work. It sounds like it might work and everyone would win from it. No one's going to be upset by it, which of course, it's you know how business is. You're optimistic and then you start learning more.
Well, there's that. And I also know a little bit about the healthcare system.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if anyone comes up to you and they're like, "Oh, I know how to change the healthcare system," you're like, yeah. Now it's not changing it, but it's slightly improving it, and that's all we can really do, right? So, anyways, I have this idea, AI agents. My friend the other week, what inspired it was for me to keep progressing on the idea was she was like, the NSF is giving funding around AI. Right
NSF, what is that?
It is basically there's a governmental agency that gives small businesses grants in order to launch and start their businesses based off of different ideas that will contribute to the better good of society in some way.
So it has to be like humanitarian-esque.
There has to be specific topics around it. So they have a list of topics that you can apply for and grants that will basically be funded under certain topics, and that's how they kind of regulate and also let you know what they're funding at the time. So a lot of branches of governments will do this in different aspects or areas. So I remember 5 or 6 years ago when I was launching my first business, there was some research that they were doing around like nutrition initiatives around the ketogenic diet for snipers, for example.
Dang.
And so they were putting in a lot of money into, different types of nutrition research to help the military.
How specific?
Yeah, there's specific topics that they will fund and things that they're really specifically investigating and, hoping to learn more about. But right now with AI, they have this grant money. I think the pool is like $2 million. So when you think about the grand scheme of things and how much research costs, it's not a lot, but don't quote me on that. I think that's how much they're putting towards AI, which is, again, not a lot in the grand scheme of things. And if you think about how much it costs to run even a clinical trial, it's around $1 to $2 million. So
serious. And how much did you say that it was that they had allocated for this?
$2 million. Right. So it's like one clinical trial, basically, which is why when I think about how much money they will be allocating to each fund, it doesn't quite make sense to me.
No.
But I'm not exactly sure if it's $2 million. I need to double check my sources on that.
If you're wrong, we're not going to post this.
Well, if I'm wrong, maybe someone else will know and help educate us.
We'll get there.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm applying to this AI kind of because of this idea for the healthcare system. And I have the same idea and I get back home. I was just traveling last week when I had the idea, but I get back home, I open my mailbox and there's an envelope. The envelope has Florida Corrections Facility or something on that.
Sketch.
Right, but it's a check. It's a check. And I'm like, this is like the money that I'm getting back because 5 or 6 years ago when I had started that business, I got $15,000 to $30,000 stolen from me. So it was $15,000 that was stolen, but then we asked for 30 for legal fees and all these things that
your time.
Right. Like there's just so much that goes into it, and when you're going into legal battle, like you kind of have to ask for a lot of the damages that are surrounded by it, right? Like the website, the labels that you buy, like all the other things that you're buying apart from the actual product that they didn't deliver.
Yeah.
So that happened in December of 2019, so right before COVID happened. And at that time I had just graduated with my master's in nutritional epidemiology from Tufts University earlier that April. So December, I just had graduated. I was going to launch this business. This guy took my money because I'm a female entrepreneur who is at risk. I say that, but there's probably thousands of reasons at that time why. I don't know why. And so April comes around the following year, right? COVID's happened or is happening in that moment. And there's a 100K pitch competition that happens every year at my alma mater at Tufts University. So I'm like, if I win this, one, it validates my idea. It makes me know that I should keep going and keep pushing with this. I mean, these are the top researchers in nutrition in the United States who are actively working on policy, on nutrition initiatives, on innovation, on, sitting on a council with Kellogg, Campbell, Nestle. Like, this is who is in the room when you're in this competition.
Yeah, well, wait a minute. Hold on. We don't want to lose this. Kellogg's, Nestle, nutrition. That doesn't make sense to me. But still, they're important because they're making decisions for big corporations. Ooh.
So the Innovation Council is open to anyone. It's about $10,000. There are smaller businesses in there too that are working actively on. For example, one of the companies is working on basically taking any food that we have, turmeric, blueberries, like whatever food. They analyze all of the components of it, and then they find the bioactive component of it that we can then produce to have health benefit. Whoa. So, for example, if you take turmeric, they're the ones that are looking at curcumin, and then they're studying at curcumin and how we can extract that and doing clinical trials on it to see if that's what the health benefit is, right? Yeah. So it's really novel, important, and also, at the end of the day, it's a business, right? So no matter how you skew it, like, someone has to do the work, but in order to do work, someone has to be paid. So as much as you can, like, construe, like, oh, big pharma, all these things, at the end of the day, hey, would you rather them not have an RD in the room or have someone who's listening in on these things? Because at the whole point, it's like everyone's working together, and the people who can make a difference, wouldn't you want them to be in the room? Wouldn't you want Kellogg to be in the room when we're talking about nutrition and how important it is to remove sugar from the diets of the American, like, society? Just
yes,
right. You would want them in the room. So yes, they are a part of the room, but they're also looking at innovative changes and, like, problems and biggest risk factors and where policy is headed. And that's why it's important for them to be involved.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect system. It's a system, and it's heading the right direction.
Right. All we can do is continue to educate, innovate, and keep headed in that direction. So,
thanks.
Yeah. So then I went to that pitch competition.
Yeah.
I brought them that proprietary amino acid blend for the plant-based protein that I had created that was just as effective as animal protein, but didn't have any of the phytic acid or heavy metals or whatever else I had optimized in it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I won that pitch competition. So there's obviously, just like we talked about, there are multiple branches. So my branch was nutrition, and I won $18,000 plus $10,000 in legal support. So I used that legal support to actually file the patent on the protein powder.
How much does that cost to file a patent?
$25,000.
Okay. Good to know.
For the first round.
Yep.
There's 2 rounds. So you can either apply for a patent right away, or you can apply for, and again, it's been 5 or 6 years, but you can apply for a patent that's, I believe it's like provisional, and it's, you basically buy your time. You buy like a year to be the first one to put it in, and then you buy the time to then apply for the full.
That's the whole patent pending thing?
Yeah.
Pretty much?
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, because to actually receive the patent, it takes years.
Years. Wow.
Well, it can. Some people want to take years because they want to say, hey, I thought of this. Now let me go research it, and let me come back to you and actually have all the research, all the proof now that we have it ready to go, versus waiting for all the research and then being maybe the second or third to put and file in the patent. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Oh, that's good. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Yeah.
The little tidbits that I do know, I'm not an expert, so don't ask me 2 questions. You can ask me 1 question.
You got that? Good.
Wow. So won that 18 and then put it back into the business, to start, launching my entrepreneurial career. So right now I have a Good for Your Gut company with 3 main pillars. It's Good for Your Gut products via that protein powder that I had launched. It's services. So we do one-on-one coaching with clients. We order labs. We do stool testing, hormone testing, health optimization in any way. And then third is education. So I have corecoaches.io, and now we certify other online coaches, RDs, etc., to basically start up the businesses that I did by learning how to read advanced labs, order these functional tests online and help people with the day-to-day, which is something that I never learned as a registered dietitian. If I went to the best nutrition graduate school in the country and I went to the best internship to become a registered dietitian, I got a CPT, I was a certified personal trainer. Like, no one teaches you how to actually change someone's life through health, wellness, diet, exercise kind of approaches. And everyone's very generic about it. So I was like, no, I am very much, tell me the physiology, tell me what to do when it's high, tell me what to do when it's low, and then give me case studies to apply it. And so that's how I built the certification, where it's very much just like textbook,
Yeah.
So I built that, and that's our third pillar. So now I have these 3 businesses, and I'm at a point, and I'm like, okay, courses suck.
Why do they suck then?
I hate them.
Making them or
no,
going
if
to?
anyone pitches you a course as an entrepreneur, are you like, yeah, I totally have the time to spend to learn all these things? Usually I'm like, no, do it for me.
Okay.
At this point.
Sure.
I'm in a fast era.
You must be.
Yeah. I'm scrolling. I better be done in 3 seconds.
That's high speed.
Don't take that out of
courses.
context.
Right.
Yeah.
We won't.
Yeah. But I was like, okay, well, more importantly, how do I make the courses better?
When you say the courses, which courses?
So the certifications are gut, hormone, and then advanced programming. So we go through every single gut condition that can possibly happen, every single hormone condition, low testosterone, high estrogen, low estrogen, thyroid problems, menopause, all the things around hormones.
Dang.
And then we do the same with the gut. But everything starts on our 3-phase blueprint, which is gut, then hormones, then fitness. Everything starts in the gut.
Really? Y'all heard that? So what is that? Okay, let's say somebody were to apply that principle. What should they do today if they have no idea what that means? Everything starts with the gut. Great. Now what?
So I have a 5 speed, I call it the speed pillars. And this is the way that you can speed up your health, speed up your gut, speed up your metabolism, whatever you want to do. And those stand for sleep, personal stress, environmental stress, exercise, and diet. And if you guys want 50 plus ways, I can send you a free webinar on it, and we can break it down, and I'm happy to do that here too. But essentially, you want to be optimizing each of those pillars of your life, because stress at the end of the day is what contributes to and promotes any chronic disease. Dang. So we think about stress. Stress is inflammation in the body. Inflammation can cause epigenetic changes. Those epigenetic changes and shifts cause changes to our genome, turns on, turns off certain conditions. So anything that you're predisposed to might be activated, right? So at the end of the day, we want to be lowering the inflammation as much as possible. And how do you lower inflammation? You lower the stress on the body. How many different sources of stress can you find? Well, usually we can bucket them into those 5 categories, where if you're not sleeping enough, you are mentally not talking to yourself kindly throughout the day, because at the end of the day, we all have kids. We all have work. Well, I don't have kids, but majority of people have kids. They have work. Maybe they have a dog, something that's stressing them out.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's not the stress that's the issue. It's how you perceive the stress that's the issue.
2 types of human suffering: physical and emotional. And emotional is their perspective on our thoughts.
Exactly. It's self-perceived.
Yeah.
So you have full control over it, which is the amazing part. Each of these 5 speed pillars, you have full control over to make them better. So it's sleep, personal stress, environmental stress. You think of things like California forest fires or mold in your house or contaminated water, right? That's like environmental things that could cause a body to not be functioning optimally.
Especially that Austin water. Oh my gosh.
Use Austin.
No good. Yeah.
Then exercise. So too much and too little, we know. is not good for us for exercising. And then diet, too many calories, not enough calories, too much processed goods, not enough soul foods, you could say, or being too like obsessive, like orthorexic, right, about your diet can be a bad thing. So there's many ways where you can fall into extremes on exercise and diet. And I want to bring everyone back to the whole concept where like moderation is key, but if you want to make actionable steps towards improving your health, just think of those 5 speed pillars and ask yourself, what is one pillar I can work on and improve this 1 week? So for a lot of people, maybe it's like personal stress or it's sleep, because honestly, those are the foundations. Like all of our regeneration, our recovery, everything happens in our sleep. Like that's why it's number 1. So let's say sleep is your biggest pillar, that you're like, this is the elephant in the room. I can do one thing to improve my health this week. It will be sleep. Things that you can do to optimize your sleep. Blackout curtains. You can go to bed a little bit earlier. I like to say use the 3-2-1 method, which is 3 hours before bed, you stop eating. 2 hours before bed, you stop drinking. 1 hour before bed, you stop all electronics.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you can do a cool room. You can, there's so many things that you can do to try and optimize your sleep, but just choose one, right? I'm not asking you to completely change your entire lifestyle, but if it seems really easy for you to, for example, this week, try the 3-2-1 method, then do that. I actually use the 4-3-2-1 method.
Yeah, this is the pro tip. That the only when you have done it.
Yeah.
So what is the pro tip?
The pro tip is the 4-3-2-1 method is 4 hours before bed, you have to unplug from work, which I know is not realistic for a lot of people, but your mind will be racing if you don't give it enough time to like actually calm down, especially as entrepreneurs where we don't have those rigid work hours. But if you think about it, from a normal 9 to 5, you unplug from work at 5, you can go to bed by 9 and be done. So it's realistic.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. As an entrepreneur, so what about the ego? Because, a lot of people take pride in the fact that they're a hard worker and they'll work start to finish throughout the day. Well, to your point, it doesn't seem healthy.
No.
If you really get granular about this, it's not going to have a positive impact on you. And it probably happens fast, like night over night over night, where you're not shutting off your brain, where you're not getting enough sleep. And then you shut down, the cortisol levels spike, and then the inflammation happens, and then all the other stuff can happen.
Usually what I've seen, I work with a lot of high net worth entrepreneurs because, my coaching is VIP, and then we have other RDs that work with others. And when people work with me, it's like, that's the executive type that I see a lot of. And what I've seen is usually it's either a season, like 4 months, or it's a year or maybe 2 years. And they'll remember and be like, oh, that was a really hard season. But realistically speaking, that season might have happened, but those habits probably continued around a little bit before and a little bit after.
So while Dasha is really spitballing this stuff here, like we definitely need a notepad when listening, and I recommend listening through this again with an actual notepad because the things you're saying are extremely valuable.
Okay.
This just goes to show how complex we are as people, because you gave it the 5 pillars, and then with one pillar you went 3 to 4 layers deep, and with those 3 to 4 layers there's even more, right? And these are the things that we don't focus on, we don't build habits around, and yet they're the most important things because it's our bodies. They don't teach this stuff in any school.
Why I created the certification, right?
Yeah.
So what if you had learned all those tools and how to help people? And so my goal is to help as many people as possible and make as much money doing it as possible. And I think that a lot of times too, there's like shame around wealth and helping people and things like that. But it's also, unless you put the shame on it, there's no shame in it.
Well, here's a perspective shift, right? The more money you make, the easier it is for you to literally flip a switch and help 10x more people than you were when you didn't have money.
Right? Or it's a reflection of how successful it was to have helped all those people.
Yeah.
But I think that at the end of the day, the whole point is better together. So that's why I really focus on the certification. It's like, hey, if I can teach more people the skill sets in order to have this happen. Let's all help more people together. You guys build your own businesses and you're making more money doing so. And that's really commendable too, because a lot of people now, they want to shift their careers. They're like, I'm so tired and burnt out of my old career. Like, I want the American dream where I'm helping people change their lives and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, I want you to be successful in that. That's amazing.
Let's take a quick moment to shout out the people making big moves in real estate, the elite residential group at Keller Williams Realty. With over $90 million in sales volume and more than 300 families helped, they're one of the top real estate teams in Central Texas for a reason. Whether you're buying, selling, or just figuring out your next step, they make the process simple and centered around your priorities.
Greg and his small team have been absolutely crushing the Austin real estate market, producing incredible numbers.
He is always responsive, he's always on point, he never misses anything.
I would highly recommend him for anybody looking to buy or sell in the Austin, Texas area.
Hit the link in the description to book your free consultation. Speaking of the American dream, your name. I've never heard your name before.
Russian.
Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Are you from there?
No.
No.
No. First
Are you from
generation.
California?
No, I'm from Boston.
Boston.
Yeah.
Sick. Okay. And when did you move to Austin?
I moved to Austin like 2.5 years ago.
Why did you do that?
I was in Florida. I was completing my internship there as a registered dietitian, and then I graduated, passed my boards, and then wanted to launch this protein powder company. So if you imagine, I passed my board exams in June or July of 2020, actually, after I had launched the protein powder kind of concept. And then at that time, I moved in with my parents because it was the classic entrepreneurial journey. Like, those pictures, I don't know if you've ever seen these or the audience has, but, it's like that garage door opens and there's just like pallets of like product that this person is selling and they're like living on a mattress and thankfully they had a bedroom for me. But that's kind of what I did, where I needed to store the product and, my studio apartment in Tampa, Florida was not gonna hold it. So I moved in with my parents for about a year as I launched that company. And then I was like, okay, I got it into a distribution center, like got it out of the house. Now where do I go? And so as owning two businesses, it's like my options are Florida, Tennessee, or Texas.
Yeah.
And I'm not a country girl, so.
No, Tennessee's pretty country.
Yeah, Texas is as well, but I was like, let me try Austin because there's a lot of health entrepreneurs here and there's a lot of people who would be able to give me community, which I think is so important to your overall health. It is one of the biggest predictors to your longevity. So people always say diet and exercise. In the studies of like the blue zones, I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but it's all about community.
Yeah.
People who live the longest have the best community, have the most hope. They're religious, and I'm agnostic, so I would say that I think that more so than anything around religion, it is more so about hope, having hope and having support through tough times and having someone to lean on.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really community.
Yeah, it reminds me of this documentary I saw, this Blue Zone. They're friends from literally the day they're born till 110 years old.
That's
the same
amazing.
friends.
That's amazing.
Their whole lives. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so amazing.
So, working on the business and working in the business. Okay, you take on the VIP clients, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I want to know what it's actually like as far as the challenges you face when working with these folks. Do they ever give you resistance when you're wanting to help them?
Yeah.
What does that look like, and why would you say that it is?
Because being sick is really scary. And when people come from a point of fear, they are not acting like themselves, usually not thinking rationally. And so most of the time, I would say those are the types of people that, just aren't thinking rationally and clearly.
But they're successful financially.
They may be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Most of my VIP clients that I work with, I never have that issue because I'm kind of selective in who I work with, where I'm like, look, if this isn't going to work out, I don't want you to be unhappy, and I don't want to be unhappy in the process either. So usually it's more so of managing coaches and managing clients of coaches.
Yeah.
And that just comes with experience. It comes with experience. And there are times in the business where we're like, look, this isn't going to be mutually beneficial. And like, we're just going to have to part ways earlier.
Yeah. You get to the point of no return. Of course, that happens with any business, any client. Like, it's going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. What about those clients that are in that headspace and you're able to help them get out of it? Does that happen? To where they make a complete 180?
Yes and no. I will say the most successful clients are the ones who let go, who are able to let go of the full control, and they're able to trust in me as a provider, and that's built through that relationship, that rapport. So a lot of people, yes, we can come to that place, but if you don't let me do my job, I can't do my job.
Well, that's good. That's good. So trust and let go. So it begs the question for anybody listening here today. Are there certain, because no one succeeded alone. They wanted to hire you for a reason. They couldn't do it on their own, right? Where in our lives do we need to trust and let go of certain things, right? It's a powerful question that we get to ask ourselves as many times as we need to before we come up with an answer. That's great. Now, working on the business, you started off in Tampa with 2 businesses, right? And now you've got the third. Yeah. What's been the most eye-opening experience for you as a business owner? Like, what's been the biggest surprise?
There's some wild cases out there.
Cases? What kind of cases?
Yeah, like I have one client who, she has just anaphylactic reactions to every food except for like 3 foods.
What?
Yeah.
That's like being allergic to water. One of those super rare cases.
Yeah. Imagine having like 3 foods that you can eat.
I'm allergic to, what are those things that come out of the ground? Yellow jackets?
Yellow jackets. Oh, wasps?
Not those. Wasps are the things in the air.
Hornets.
Yellow jackets come from the ground.
What is the difference from all of these? Bees? Hornets?
Yeah, they're all kind of bee things that sting you, right? And they're yellow and blackish. Well, anyways, these particular kind, if I get somebody that, then I'm done for. So this lady, if she eats food, she's toast. So you got to help her out through that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a wild case, and that's triggered. I mean, there are a lot of wild cases, but at the end of the day, I think what people love most about working with us is my simplification throughout it. It's very much rational, and that's because that's just how my brain works. It's like, look, right now we cannot do XYZ. At the root of it, XYZ is why it's happening, and in order to get from step A to step B, this is what we're going to need to do. And this is not all on my own. So we work as an integrative team. We incorporate the doctor. We have the allergist. We have like immunologists if we need to. And we work as a team. And it's more so about navigating the healthcare system that I help with right now. Yeah. Because I do understand that, for some of those conditions, it's very complex. Now, not all of my clients are like that. I do have, for example, one of my clients just actually messaged me and he was like, look at this. Should I show you the photo he just sent me?
Yeah. I want to see it.
Yeah. And by the way, he sent a waiver saying that I can promote this on social media. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Smart. Good
it's one of my first questions that I ask people. So this was in a month.
What?
I know.
Dude, shredded.
Yeah, and he's eating 500 calories more than we did a month ago. So he was like, Dasha, I've never eaten this much food and looked this lean in my life. And so some of it is more mechanistically, like changes like that we'll do, where I have to reset his insulin sensitivity. So, at the core root of it, I looked at his blood work and I was like, okay, it seems like we have a blood glucose and insulin issue. Do this protocol for, he followed it like 2 weeks, brought him off that, started incorporating certain things, and like, it's not as complex as people make it seem.
Is that stuff real, Dasha? What? When people get their blood work done and eat certain foods that match their blood type?
Oh, no, not blood type.
It's not.
No, I went down that.
It's not like a myth.
I know, I went down that road.
And it is a myth.
I think there's some validity to it, right?
Yeah.
But it's not it's not really going to be it.
Dang.
Someone gave me this analogy right before I came, and they were like, it's kind of like when people say don't do cold bath or cold
Plunges after you work out.
After you work out.
Yeah.
He's like, it's kind of like that. He's like, if you're doing cold plunges and not seeing results, like it's probably not the cold plunge that's not leading you to get the results, right?
Yeah.
It's like all the other things that you're doing. So when you tell me about blood types, it's kind of like cold plunging after your workout. It's like, is that really the thing? Man, probably not.
I had this cold plunge conversation the other day. I said, what if we took somebody that did a cold plunge for 365 days after every single workout they did? I was like, what's going to happen to them? Like nothing is ever going to happen to them.
And this is where it's granular because my background, I don't know if I didn't even say this, or I don't know if you know this, but my background's in bodybuilding. So when it comes to like the finite, really fine-tuned changes, that's when we'll see the lack of muscle building and things like that. For Gen Pop, I'm not concerned.
No. So if you're Gen Popping out there, don't worry about it.
We all Gen Pop in.
Yeah, but if you're trying to, really take it to the next level, get that pro card,
yeah,
time to get granular.
Yeah, I mean, those people are doing some granular things.
So you're in the health and wellness space / the fitness industry. What's wrong with the fitness industry right now, in your opinion?
I think it's always been like this, but I think that most people get into fitness for a negative reason. And so I think that fitness always becomes a negative outlet, and people hold it towards their identity because it's very much shaping their ego.
What are some of those negative reasons that people get into the fitness industry? I'd love to hear some.
Well, at the end of the day, you start going to the gym, you start working out and working on yourself because of some hardship in your life. Most of the time. Most of the time, people get really into it. The people who become obsessed with it and are like, this is so, like, I'm so data tracking, was me for sure, but also was like an experimenter, a scientist, but they're going through something. I would say most people.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if life is great, are you going to pick up a self-help book?
Not really.
Maybe. No. Yeah. But most likely not. Right? Like, you're not going to do the thing if life is going well. Like, if your health and wellness is great, you're not going to become like super obsessed with fitness and the gym and working out and all these things.
Facts.
You're probably going to be kind of like, yeah, I love to work out and I like to be active, but I'm not like obsessed with it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we didn't get necessarily a list. We just got kind of an all-encompassing reason as of, you said a hardship in life.
Yeah.
Okay. So just be careful, right? That's the overall message.
Yeah. I think just don't let your physique like change and impact who you are as a human being. Like people don't really care if you gain or lose the 5 pounds at the end of the day.
Now, I don't know if you pay too much attention to this. I do, because I watch Greg Doucette on YouTube almost every day.
Really?
I do.
That's so funny.
Because he just speaks his own truth, and it's great entertainment.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the kids taking steroids these days? Do you pay attention to that at all?
I think that's highly concerning.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a real thing.
Right.
Like, it's kind of catching on like wildfire.
Because you do realize that that's like the prime. Like, you really don't need steroids when you're at your peak of testosterone.
Yeah, you're adding some icing on top of the icing.
Yeah.
And then we get too much icing on the cake. It's a bad cake.
It's not even cake anymore.
Nobody wants to eat it.
Yeah, exactly.
Disgusting. So I got to ask, we're going to throw it back a little bit more here because I just want to paint the full picture of Dasha today. Were you always in this space? Like right out of high school, bang, getting after it?
Yes. I was going to ask you what space, but the reality is yes. In high school, I was doing like internships every summer, trying to get as much experience as I could. I, at the time, thought I was going to be a doctor, but also my parents were cancer researchers. So, parents are like, you're going to get your PhD no matter what. That's the only way to make money in this country. Keep in mind, they came to this country with $50 to their name. And the only reason why they got here was from their PhD. So, they were very much on that path.
I've heard that story a lot of times.
Yeah.
And how they want to impress that upon their children as well.
Right.
Yep.
It makes sense. I mean, really it does.
It worked out for them.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not the only way, but works for most people. So anyways, so I knew that I was going to get some sort of advanced degree. And at the time, I wasn't sure what that would look like exactly, but I was always fascinated in biology, mainly because I think my dad understood biology. And so when I really struggled with it, he was able to help me understand the concepts a lot better. And so, you know, you like what you're good at kind of thing. And like, if I understand something, I'm going to keep going towards that. So anyway, so I was doing all these internships. I was at like, I did like a Puerto Rican study at UMass Lowell with microbiome health. I did a internship at Princeton University looking at malaria using lasers to actually detect malaria in Africa and stuff like that. That was a cool one.
Lasers.
Yeah. I worked at MGH, like facial reconstruction units, and I got to see a surgery where they opened up the face and peeled the skin over, and then she took these like 5 kind of muscles and nerves, I think, and she like moved them, and she was like, Dasha, how's this smile? And it was like this dead person, not a dead, but they were completely under, and there's like blood and everything, like muscles, like a true anatomy book. Like I was like about to pass out just like looking at it.
Oh my God.
But she's like, how's this smile looking? Because she's doing this facial reconstruction because this patient suffered from a stroke and they couldn't move half of their face. Now, interestingly, the research that I was doing at the time was actually showing that what we have is called facial mimicry. And so in order to feel the emotions of you, I actually subconsciously will mimic any emotions. So if you're crying, like I will frown a little bit. My eyes will go down because it helps me to understand the emotions that you're going through. And so a lot of problems is that these stroke victims, they cannot move their face because they're paralyzed. So a lot of them fall into depression because they can't actually smile. They can't feel happy. They can't do anything, right? And so anyway, so she was like reconstructing his face and she was like, how's his smile? And I was like, oh my God. She's like, Dasha, if you're going to pass out, run to that corner because you cannot be like, that's the rule in surgery. Like you can't be around because it's like all their, flowing whatever. Yeah. So I ran. It's like, yeah. Yeah. Oh, anyway, so that was a cool one. So the answer is yes. I've always been super fascinated I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always been really into biology, and it just kind of evolved as I grew and as I experienced my own health journeys and struggles, and got really interested in learning how I could help the most amount of people.
When did you start your first business?
Define business.
Something that generated revenue.
Does 25 cents count?
Yeah.
A lemonade stand.
You did?
Mm-hmm. I was such an entrepreneur that at some point, call this robbery if you'd like, I set up a candy store outside of my bedroom. So I took the candy from the kitchen, I placed it outside of my bedroom door, and I grabbed them off the couch from watching television, brought them upstairs and said, hi, welcome to the candy store. This is 25 cents candy and you have to buy it.
Wow.
You have to buy it. So that would be my first business.
That's great. Great idea for all those listening. If you want to start your first business,
yep,
you got options anywhere, even in your own house. It's great. So what I'm trying to do is kind of paint a picture of how many businesses you started or maybe attempted to start, and then they just didn't take way or they straight up failed, what have you. Because we want to give people a taste of reality. Like Alex Ramosi, I think he started like 12 businesses before one actually took off, right, for example. Did you have a lot of those like waves of start one, didn't work, go to another one, didn't work? Or was your first one a big success?
Here's why what I started worked from the beginning. It's because when I didn't sell anything for about 4 years. And every single day, exactly when Instagram launched, I think I was like a freshman in college or around that. No. Way, Instagram launched a little like way earlier, but it was a thing. Like people were using Instagram. And so I started posting every single day. I started posting my food. I started posting like my health tips. I started learning and sharing the journey as I was learning. And so by the time that I had graduated from, all these people watched me go through college, they watched me get my master's. And then when I finally, 6 years later, every single day of posting said, hey, now I'm ready to take on clients. I had an audience that would buy from me, and I had built that trust, and they had watched my journey. And so obviously, like Alex Hormozy and a lot of people, they don't have that. But I will say that a lot of people told me not to post daily when I was posting daily, and a lot of people made fun of me, and I was bullied a lot for it.
Everyone except for Gary Vaynerchuk. He would tell you to post 20 times a day.
I don't think he was even saying that at that time. Like, no one was really talking about that. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to it, so.
Well, there's a valuable lesson in what you just said. 4 years of foundation building, 4 years of consistent work.
Yeah.
No sales.
No.
Right? And patience.
A lot of bullying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not cool.
Yeah.
At all. Like sometimes you'll have friends and you did have friends and family saying, oh, you shouldn't post a couple times a day. Then you do post, and then you get people online heckling you. Mm-hmm. And all this negativity, all this stuff that's trying to say no, but you did it anyways for 4 years, and then product launch. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you ever thought of it that way? Perhaps. You did.
Maybe. Good. I don't know. I don't sit much and think about my journey, but it's probably helpful to do so. It's kind of like a therapy session.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, one of the key recipes to success is patience. Key pieces of the recipe, rather, is patience. So good on you. Good on you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you got a lot of experience with your first business, and then you launched the second one, and now you're on the third one. Mm-hmm. Where are you going with all this?
Mm-hmm. So I always had this idea of like this umbrella. And when I first, in that 2020 era, I was like, I want to build this kind of Weight Watchers model, but no one, like, Weight Watchers isn't cool. Weight Watchers isn't healthy. Weight Watchers isn't like going to solve any problems. Like, what's really going to solve these problems is, like I told you, like the gut health, the hormones, the fitness, like changing people's diet and lifestyles, understanding the habits, like the 4-3-2-1 method. Like, those things are going to change people's lives.
The work.
Right. Not the quick fix, the don't eat bread. It's like, okay, well, maybe that'll work until it really doesn't, right? Like, sure. That's mechanistically not how we function. So, yeah.
Well, the umbrella, you're not done. You're talking about the umbrella.
Oh, the umbrella. Yeah. So that's why I created the umbrella, the company. So I was always kind of doing that. We'll say that it's best, if I were to give one recommendation, always start with one business and go all in on it. The protein powder is more like a passion project, and I'm looking to sell it. So if anyone wants to buy it.
Is it the peanut butter one?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, we're top 9 allergen free, so we wouldn't have peanut butter in it.
Facts.
I do have a chocolate hazelnut flavor, like a Nutella.
Yeah. But
we don't use, and this is why we use artificial flavorings, is to keep it allergen free. So for patients, like, I always design this for my clients because I knew what they were going through, where they had a ton of allergies and they couldn't have a lot of foods, and their guts couldn't digest a lot of things, but they were active and they needed something that would help them build muscle just as effectively, but wouldn't cause the bloat of whey protein powder. So that's really why I created it. And now one of my former clients actually runs the whole social media page and everything. So every week we get on a call and she does all like the content creation and stuff like that. And I just give her 30% of the business.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that link is definitely going to be in the description if you're looking to give that a shot.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And leave us an Amazon review.
Yeah, because those matter. Reviews count. Everyone counts. Wow. So you've got all this energy, right? I've heard so many times that as adults, we're constantly looking to manage energy. You've got a lot of it. Plus, you put in a lot of time to getting a lot of it because you know the formula. Get to sleep, right? Eat right, all this other stuff, right? How do you stay focused every day to make sure that you're in alignment with your priorities?
I don't always. I'm not perfect, but I really try to.
It's not helpful, Dasha.
I think what's most helpful for me personally is meditating in the morning, journaling in the morning, making sure you can tell I'm a visionary, right? Like, I am like idea. So making sure that I literally have like a Post-it card on my desk that has like 3 action items. And I'm like, these 3 actions every single day will move your business forward. posting to your story. I should probably know what they are.
But that's why it's written down.
But that's why it's written down,
Because you
because I
don't
just
remember
check
it.
it off. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I have that on my desk, and every single day I go through it. And I try and limit, like, one of those things is going to be checking my email. So I just try and limit things that are going to distract me as much as possible. But it's really difficult when my entire business is on my phone. So plugging in, plugging out, I think that's the biggest thing that helps me stay focused.
And the last thing we're going to touch upon today,
Okay.
because I noticed a reoccurring theme with most, if not all of our guests, it's the word excitement. How would you define your excitement? That thing that gets you jacked up every day to do what you do.
I think it's love and positivity. Is that silly to say?
No, it's not. There's no wrong answer.
Yeah. I think it's happiness, and it's spreading happiness as much as possible. And kind of being a source of light, because when people go through their own health journeys and struggles, their biggest thing, and the biggest thing that I've always wished for and wanted, was a solid rock and someone to lean on. And you're not always going to be happy. And sometimes you kind of just want someone to cry with you, you know? But as much as we can be that source of hope, right, that I talked about earlier, I think that's the biggest gift that we can give to other people.
Dang. That's fired up.
Yeah, that gets me excited.
At a minimum. Wow. And then one fun thing that I'd like to just close out on here today. Let's say it's 150 years from now, and your descendants are watching this, because it's going to stay up on YouTube forever, as long as YouTube's around. What's one thing you want to say to them?
You better be eating a motherfucking vegetable. Just kidding. I don't know. Maybe vegetables will be bad for us in that year. Who knows? I don't even know if we'll have vegetables in 150 years.
I don't know.
I hope you're still alive. I hope that, or I hope there's no asteroid that comes or something. Yeah.
Yeah. That's positive right there.
Yeah.
That's love.
That's love and positivity, baby.
Wow. I hope you're alive. That's the best one I've ever heard.
Really?
Yeah.
What do people usually say?
They say something along the lines of, follow your passion.
Yeah.
I love you.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
best.
I love you.
Yeah.
My family's Russian. My family's Russian.
Yeah,
you know,
and
we're
we're
cold.
from the Northeast.
We're cold-blooded. It's fine. God. Realistically speaking, the thing that will make you happiest is if you survive.
Yeah, so if you're from Russia, wear your coats.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's cold up there. And it's cold in Boston, too, in the winter.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hot here.
Yeah, Beantown, represent. Let's go. Sammy Adams. You know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you from Boston?
No, I'm from New York.
Oh.
Sammy Adams came on my radio show in college.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the song? College.
I
Something like
like college.
oh.
Yeah, it was like a takeoff of
Wicka, wicka. I feel like
somewhere.
this is the perfect audio to be like.
That was great beatboxing.
Good job.
There's your hidden talent, everybody.
Yep.
Folks, thank you so much for listening today. This podcast is called the Elite League Podcast. The word elite to us means people that want to be the light in the dark. And you even said that earlier.
Wow.
You said that earlier. So there's total alignment here.
I love it.
Thank you so much for coming on today, Dasha.
Thanks, guys, and thanks for listening. I hope I didn't sound funky.
No, you sound like a pro, because you are. And we support the mission. So by all means, check out Dasha's products. Check out her websites. It's all in the description below. My name's Greg, your host. And as always, stay fired up. Till next time.